Jog Vlog.
Hey guys, Vaughn here. So I just had the pain of watching the latest Star Trek Abrams production, Star Trek Beyond. I say pain because this movie was disappointingly bad. I mean, yes, I'm getting to the point that I'm expecting new Hollywood films to suck, but when they don't even try to make sense, it just makes it all that more aggravating. So here we are. We've got the crew that we've seen for the previous two movies. Chris Pine is Captain Kirk, Zachary Quinto. Is that how you say his name? He's Spock. And, well, the thing about this crew is that, to the movie's credit, this is the first time they really feel like the original characters. Spock feels very stoic. Kirk, this time around, is not busy chomping on apples and being boastful. He seems to be a concerned captain. Now, that's about all you can say. Well, okay, the effects are still good. Those two things, those are the good things this movie has going for it. What happens in the movie? Okay, so we start off, there's this peace treaty being negotiated with Kirk and some what appear to be giant creatures that he's speaking to from this pit, but it turns out they're like little dog Ewok type bear things, and it's kind of like a cute little reversal. All right. After that goes bad, and the key thing here is that he tried to offer them a piece of a weapon. He's like, "Oh, hey, this is some old weapon. Here, it's a peace offering. Oh, we don't want it. Nah, we're attacking the human." He teleports out of there, takes the thing, puts it in some archive, and then they go and into this talk about how it's tough being a captain out here. We're like 3 years into our 5-year mission, and everything's difficult. It's monotony and all this. Some of the crew's doing better than others, but not me. And then Kirk's having a birthday, and he goes and chats with McCoy, and it's the talk that we had in Wrath of Khan, which makes this movie Star Trek The Wrath of Khan Part 5 or 6 at this point. They have a talk about getting older, and here I got you some wine. May as well give him some glasses too while you're at it. So they head to this place, Yorktown. This was actually a cool concept. A planet, well, it's like a space station with an atmosphere. It has a maybe a glass globe around it, and everything in it, there's all these spires that are twisting around, really unnecessary, but it gives you a lot of surface area. And there's artificial gravity, and everybody's kind of staying on their own surface, even though it's like an Escher drawing. And this is really making my arms tired holding this camera like this. But at this point, the movie starts really heading downhill. They get a distress signal. It was hard to decipher what the hell even happened. There was a ship that escaped, and this alien that needs a translator is taken into the space station. She talks about how her science crew is in a nebula and needs rescuing. And so it's like, okay, the Enterprise is here. Send them out to go do the rescuing. And they go to the nebula, and they get in there, and then all of a sudden they get attacked by these swarm of bees. Now they're ships, not bees, mind you. And the trouble here is that, well, the Enterprise is just screwed. They can't lock onto this many targets. The stuff just dives them, cuts the Enterprise up. It's everybody's getting to the escape pods. They crash land on this planet below, and everybody's kind of split up. We have McCoy and Spock, and they're kind of having to do a little bit of bonding. Kirk and this distressed alien chick, they're paired up, and Kirk's like, "Hey, you set us up. How'd you do this?" She's like, "No, I had nothing to do with this," or so she says. And Chekhov's also with him. Sulu Uhura got captured along with the rest of the crew. The people capturing him, well, these aliens. I'm I mean, there's a lot of makeup effect aliens in this, and I guess that's all right. I'm fine with that. Crawl is the leader, played by Idris Elba. Barely speaking English. Why are translations not coming up on the screen when this guy talks? Like that's what I'm confused about, because boy was it hard to make out what he was saying. I imagine seeing this shit in theaters and just being like, huh? Bane 2.0? So he's like, hey, there's an artifact. I'm looking for it. And Kirk had hidden it. He tricks the alien chick that was hanging out with him. She ends up getting killed running away from it at the Enterprise, because he brought her back to the Enterprise knowing that he didn't... He goes to Enterprise wreckage knowing that what he was looking for isn't there, just to elaborately set her up in case she was looking for it. The thing flips over and blows up and kills her, so it's like a super terrible death for her. And you're wondering, what's the motivation of the bad guy looking for this thing that the little Ewok guys didn't even want? I honestly can't tell you. It's another case of, hey, I was stuck here and I'm blaming the Federation. A guy was stuck somewhere and the Federation's to blame. Wrath of Khan much? And you got all of this dropped at the end of the movie. Okay, so they meet up with an alien chick who tells you a little bit about the bad guy, how he's sucking people's souls out of them to maintain his life, I guess. This happened to everybody in her village or parents or something, how they got stuck here. Ships land here, people disappear, and then they never are heard of from again. And it's all this guy's doing. She has this old ship, the Franklin, from, like, I don't know, Star Trek Enterprise TV show type era. It's got a cloaking device she'd put on it. Where is everybody getting all this stuff? How does the bad guy even know that that the Enterprise had this artifact he's looking for? He goes into some speech about how it was in two pieces. It was split, an ancient weapon split up into two pieces. I had to watch this in subtitles. And they launched into space, thought it'd never be found, but I found it. How? What? Yeah, how did you know it was on the Enterprise? What does it do? Oh, you put the thing together, you put somebody in a chamber, and it melts them up. It turns them into a dust. Phasers do this shit faster. Why are we even concerned about this guy having this weapon? Like, oh, God. So the Franklin gets up off the ground. They launch that into space, and they have to go up against the killer bees. How do they do this? They play Sabotage on, like, loudspeaker on a frequency. Sabotage by the Beastie Boys. And then they surf. There's like a wave of this shit, of the bees, and they surf against it, and the ones close to them kind of get burned and blown up. And they're like surfing and cruising, listening to Beastie Boys. They said, Spock was like, okay, so the bees have this trait, and then they go and do this. And I'm thinking, these are not actually bees. Did anybody tell you? There's a lot of them as though they were bees by comparison to the typical giant starships you battle. But they're not bees. And a frequency's gonna cause this? How come, like, okay, McCoy and Spock got put on one of these ships and they're flying around helping the Franklin. How come they didn't get blown up? What? How come you have to be close to the frequency and get surfed up against to blow up? So they head over to Yorktown, that giant space station that seemed like a cool place to have a movie, and then they eventually came back to it. And they have a pursuit and chase over there. This guy Crawl is heading away, and the Franklin, I keep wanting to call it the Enterprise, crashes into him and stuff, and Spock and McCoy are still flying around, having a tough time landing. They then find that he gotten into the Franklin, killed some of the crew that's there. This would be Enterprise crew, and they're looking through archives instead of looking for the guy. Instead of trying to find the guy who's now among the populace, trying to head to the center to disperse this weapon and kill everybody in the atmosphere, supposedly. I highly wouldn't you know I got cut off by low memory. So what I'm saying is that if the weapon didn't work, that would have been a great twist, wouldn't it? Oh hey, Crawl gets away. He gets to do what he wants. He got everything. The big bad's doing everything right, and the weapon is a dud. What do you know? Ancient hyperbole doesn't work out, or maybe the weapon's just too old to work correctly. Cause hell, earlier it didn't do much better than a phaser. Now did it? That would have been a nice little twist, and then he just gets arrested. I kind of would have liked that. I think that would have been appropriate. But no, that doesn't go down. Instead of out there looking for him and shit, they go look through archives and discover that he used to be the captain of the Franklin. And he was this army guy, and then when the army got dissolved and he got given a ship to captain and he didn't really like it, they crash landed on that planet they were on earlier, and he is bitter towards the Federation. So here we are ripping off the Wrath of Khan again. I'm stuck someplace and I blame the Federation for this, and I'm getting my revenge. And that's how you make a Star Trek movie now. Oh, Christ. It's amazing they were able to make the voyage home after the Wrath of Khan, when they had the template for what they were going to be doing years later already. It's astonishing. So, did this information come of use to Kirk as he tries to stop him? No. They have a little chat. Hey, you used to be the captain. So what? We're going to fight anyway. So they fight it out, and they're getting mixed up in the gravity, and they're going all through the city, and they're flying around because the gravity's all weird. Eventually, Krall gets sucked out into space along with what I'm calling the artifact. And as the same thing's about to happen to Kirk, Bones and Spock come by and rescue him in one of the bees. So then everybody sits around and they talk about how they changed their mind from where they were at the beginning of the movie. Spock had known that the original Spock died, and so he felt the duty to look over the remaining Vulcans, and hell, even have kids make more Vulcans, I suppose. But he didn't bring this up. He's like, yeah, I'm just looking forward to some more adventures. Kirk, he was getting bored with being captain. Why did he think he wasn't cut out to be captain in this movie? We're 3 movies in, and he's giving us not cut out to be a captain speech and waxing that. And then he's offered this role to take care of the Yorktown space station. He turns that down so that he can go on more missions. They're having his little birthday party, and they're looking out into the bay where they are constructing a new Enterprise, and it gets built in, sped up fashion. So how long does it take to build one of these things? Maybe not nearly as long as I anticipated it does. I mean, yeah, they have the blueprints. They're building it not in space, actually, but maybe is gravity working against them here or what? I'm not sure. But that's your movie. And the trick here is that you have a nostalgia property, Star Trek, and Hollywood found out that if you take a nostalgia property and you put enough money behind it so that the effects are good and it has action. The DVD, I watched DVD because I checked out from a library. My mom brought it home against my best wishes. And the DVD says Best Action Movie of the Year. Star Trek should never say Best Action anything. That's absurd. But you give them the action and you make it look good, and you say, here's characters, loosely, that you like. And people are just going to be like, oh my god, it's like the thing I like, but now I like it more because you guys gave it the Hilux treatment. And that's why, as I've said before, film criticism died of Roger Ebert. We now have this crap going on. The nostalgia ploy gets to the new crop of film critics, and they give it 85% Rotten Tomatoes. How can you look at this, the script, the things going on, the things that don't make sense, and then be like, oh yeah, this is a good movie? No, it's not. Is it worse than the last one? It's hard to tell at this point. That one made it abundantly clear as ripping off Wrath of Khan. This one, you had to wait. And then you're like, we did Wrath of Khan again. We have no discernible logic behind the villain. I'm stuck here. It's the Federation's fault. Oh, and while I'm stuck here, I'm just going to become an alien no longer be able to speak English well, and I can suck souls out of people. You know, because that's what happens to people who are shipwrecked, obviously. And how did he even know the Enterprise had the artifact? No one seems to even care. Star Trek Beyond, 2 out of 4 stars.
Like, comment, share, follow, subscribe. Vaughan Jog Vlog is made possible by your support on Patreon. Patreon.com/Vaughan Fry. Because fuck Google.